Hey everyone, how's it going? So today we are going to be talking about music videos, specifically playthrough videos. Now there are two ways to go about making a playthrough video. One, which is more purist point of view, is where the band in the studio plays the actual tracking of the song, or they're playing a different version of the song or a different take of the song, and you are mashing up the video clips of the actual performances. Or method number two, which is what we're going to be doing tonight, the song that we're going to be playing tonight is completely mixed, it's all mastered, ready to go. It's loaded up in the Pro Tools session right now, and we're going to be syncing up the video of the band playing to the song versus the commercially mastered version of the song. Now, I admit this is a little more complicated because the band has to play perfect. So if you're going to be doing a video this way, the band has to be good. You can't be sloppy about this. So with that being said, we're going to be working with my like-minded creators, colleagues Zach and Greg tonight. We're going to be playing a song from their project called Of the Light, and let's go in and give you guys a few pointers about how to film yourself in the studio. So first things first, we need a band. We have Greg, Chris, and Zach. We're going to be playing a song from their project called Of the Light. So Greg is obviously going to be behind the drums, Chris is going to be on bass, and Zach is going to be playing guitar. And like I said, this is the second version of how to make one of these videos where we're gonna fake it a little bit with the audio, but the playthrough is going to match the performance that's captured on the released song. This is what a lot of bands do. If you ever see a video of a band playing in a mystical forest, chances are that's most likely not recorded in said mystical forest, and they're playing to a backing track, which is usually on a big speaker that the producer would play so the band can play in time to their recorded song. We're doing something very similar to this, just in, well, we're doing it in a studio environment. We're not doing it in a mystical forest. And also, it's way too fucking cold outside. So let's go over cameras, let's go over lighting, and how I personally would film something like this. All right, guys, so let's talk about cameras and lights. So the main camera that we're gonna be using tonight is this. This is my Sony A7RV with a Sony 50mm prime lens. I love this camera. This is my primary photography camera, and yes, it is incredibly expensive. But if you want to use something that's not a $6,000 camera body, your phone will do fine, or this camera that I'm using right now, a Osmo Pocket 3, you can get away with using this or your phone. But if you want to spend a little bit of money on good camera gear, I have another camera that we're going to be using, and that's this. This is the Sony A7RV. You can get used bodies of this camera for around $1,000 online right now. And the lens that we're going to be using with the Sony A7RV is a Sigma 14-24. This is the main wide angle lens that I use for all of my B shots. So combined with these two cameras, these are going to be our focal points tonight. And lights. So this is a light by I almost said pussy. This is a light by Puss. What? All right, who the fuck makes this light? I'm leaving this blooper in.
Pussin. Amazon.
Pussin. So Pussin. This is so getting stayed in the video.
It's an Amazon light. This is a box light.
It's just a basic box light that you got off at Amazon, and the color temperature of this is a steady 4,500 Kelvin. So I am setting my camera's white balance to 4,500. So I have a secondary light here. This is a Lume Cube panel. It has an adjustable white balance. So let's turn this on and let's get the white balance to 45, which is what the white balance that we are working with tonight. There you go, 45. And let's bring up the brightness to, I'd say, 70%. And even at just 5%, if you're someone filming like studio vlogs at home and you only need one key light, this is it. You can get this light or any other similar kind of light. It's just as big as a phone, and you can get it cheap for about $100 on Amazon. And the great thing about this is it has a built-in diffuser on the light. So the light coming out is super soft, and you want that if you're going to be lighting up a portrait, which is what we're doing right now with Greg behind the drum set. So if you ask anyone in the world of audio what makes a great mix, the answer to that question is always going to be a good source, a good recording played by a good musician. And it's sort of the same with cameras and lighting. what makes or breaks a great looking shot is lighting. So right now I'm going to take my main camera, the A7RV, and I'm going to be looking at different types of angles with the light, play with the light, and see how Greg looks in the camera on the picture. And he's looking fabulous right now. But what I'm gonna do is basically have this shine. So I wanna get a nice contrasty, and this is a super cringe word that I see all the time on YouTube. I want a cinematic look. If you look up how to make a cinematic looking video, thousands of videos are going to come up. There is no real setting to make a cinematic video. It's all about lighting. So what I really want to do is use I'm not even going to call it the Amazon light, it's called the H-Pussin light. I'm going to have this be just like a main key light to just light up this area, but I want to get this light to act as what's called a hair light. So I'm going to highlight the right side of Greg's face right here, my left, his right, and I want it to basically highlight the outline of his right shoulder and the right side of his head, so that if I come with the camera right here, it's going to look, I hate using the phrase, but it's going to look cinematic. So that's what we're going to do right now. All right, so I'm talking to you now from the A7R5 with the 50mm lens, and we're doing a test clip right now. So right there is the light, and as you can see, it is shining on Greg's face and highlighting the right side of his face, but his left side right here is a little dark. So we're going to have the H-Pussin light now be sort of a reflective light, so it's bouncing off there to bounce onto Greg's face, so it's not completely dark. And it's a very subtle difference, but now I'm going to turn off the H-Pussin light and you're going to see the difference. So this is the light on, and you see how it just got instantly darker around here. It's still passable. If you only have one light and you want it to make it look cinematic, one light shining like this, you can get away with it. But we're going to have, it's too dark for my taste. So I'm going to turn this light on, and you see how just a little bit more of his face got lit up. In fact, I could probably move it over just a little bit. See, if I shine it right on him, yeah, he's nicely exposed right now, but it's not generating the effect I want. So let's move the light a little bit more to the right, where it is just lighting him up just enough. And right there, let's turn the light off and then back on again. Perfect. You see how Greg's face is now darker on the left side, but still you can make out his facial features. Whereas if the light's off, yeah, there's a little bit of too contrasty imagery going on here. So let's turn it on. There we go. So this is the exposure that we're going to be working with for Greg's portion of this video recording. We're going to get to Zach's guitar playing after we do Greg's drumming. So with that, I think we're ready for our first take, guys. I have the camera all set, and I completely forgot to say this. What settings and what shutter speed do you need to film? So we are shooting at the highest quality possible, which is 4K. And we are shooting at 24 frames a second. Now, there is a very popular debate online about what frame rate to shoot at. Some people love 24, some people love 30, some people love 60. I personally am a 24 frames a second guy. I love the natural motion blur that occurs at 24 frames a second when a person is moving. And I swear to God, if I'm drinking every time I say cinematic, I will probably die of alcohol poisoning. But if you want to shoot at whatever frame rate that you choose, make sure that the shutter speed, which is that fraction at the bottom left right there, is double of what you're shooting at. So if you're shooting at 24 frames a second, your shutter speed has to be 1/48. If you're shooting at 30, it should be 1/60. Those are just some basic film shooting laws with photography if you want the 180 shutter rule. But I have been in a pinch as far as low light goes, where I shot at 60 frames a second and I shot at 1/60, and it looked somewhat passable. But if you're in a pinch, you could probably bring a little bit lower, but for rule of thumb, always shoot double the shutter speed of what your frame rate is. So Chris actually brought up a good question. Why these two cameras? There are tons of cameras on the market that do different things. I personally bought the Sony A7 III because I am a photographer by day and I wanted something that could do everything pretty good. And the A7 III at the time was that camera. Sony has great video quality, and at the time, the A7 III had great picture quality as well. Now, this guy right here, the A7RV, this is a photo monster. This has a 60 megapixel sensor. So 60 megapixels is an insane resolution. And if I take a picture of Chris's handsome face right here, I can blow it up to a huge billboard and it won't look distorted. So that's why I bought this camera. If you were to get a camera specifically for video, I would recommend you get the A7S III. This is the A7R5. The A7S III is Sony's interchangeable video monster because it has a 12 megapixel sensor and that does better in low light. If you are only using your phone, you don't need to worry about megapixel count. Just download an app that can give you manual control over your phone's camera and adjust your settings accordingly. Now, one final note here, guys. I'm going to be doing multiple angles of each performer on each instrument of the song. So because I have the 50 mil, which is more of a zoomed in focus like right here, I'm going to be doing the close-up shots of Greg first and close-up shots of his sticks hitting the drum. And then I'm going to switch to the wider angle lens to get the whole instrument and do moves that way, which I will then have to adjust the light because the wide angle lens will get that light in the picture and I don't want that. So let's get the close-up shots right now. I'm going to do one, maybe two takes of Greg playing with the 50 mil lens, and then we'll go to the wide angle lens. So with that, let's go to Greg playing the drums. All right, so that was a good take. We're gonna do a couple more. So for this one, because I wanted the tighter look first, I wanted to focus on Greg's upper body, and specifically because, yeah, his pecs right there are killing me. But I also wanted to get him doing his vocal because he's also the singer of this band. So it's important for me to get a nice tight shot of his vocal so we can see him actually singing the song. So right now, we're gonna do, I think, 2 more takes and it should be good. I'm gonna do one more with the tighter lens and then we're gonna switch to the wide angle lens to get a whole instrument performance from Greg. So that's what we're gonna do right now. And I'm gonna focus more on Greg's close-up stick playing, hitting the snare, another different angle, because you saw me standing, basically moving left to right. That's gonna be my hero vocal shot. So right now I'm gonna get close-ups of Greg hitting the snare. So if you can zoom in right here, there's a nice close-up of his snare. I'm gonna try not to get his crotch in the shot too, but shots of the toms, yes, his crotch is very hot. And we're gonna get close-ups of the drums specifically. So this will be focused mainly on that for this shot. Okay, so I moved a lot with that last shot. I just wanted to get a couple of different close-ups of Greg's face. So the light, if you look at if you move the camera right here, that light is creating a perfect silhouette so that if I have the camera going right there, the light is being blocked by Greg's face and it's creating a nice eclipse look that looks amazing on film. So that's just another clip that I'm gonna cut to when I edit the video. And I also wanted to get a couple top-down shots of Greg playing the drums, especially when he's doing the tom fills up close. I wanted to get a couple of clips of him playing the toms up close. So now what we're gonna do is switch over to the wide-angle lens and then get a wide instrument shot, and then Greg will be done on drums. Then we can move to you, Chris, on bass, and then Zach on guitar. All right, so Greg's part is done, so we gotta move the lights over to where Chris is gonna be, which is right here. And because Zach is gonna be by the guitar cabs with all the outboard gear right there, so we gotta reserve that spot for Zach. And I don't want Chris right here because it looks way too similar. So we're gonna have Chris right here, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get the lights to basically line him up perfectly. So the key light's gonna be here, getting his left side, and we're gonna turn off the lights in here, and my little Lume Cube light is gonna shine up and get his other side. So like his 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, that's how we're gonna light him up. So I want the background to be as dark as possible, and I want him to be the focus. So that's what we're gonna do with Chris. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm going to get the 50 mil and just focus solely on the instrument and close-ups of Chris's very sweet face. So what we're gonna do, because this lens is too much of a focal length to zoom in and get the whole body, good thing I have both my lenses with me tonight. So we're gonna do a couple of close-ups of just the instrument and close-ups of Chris's face, and a couple, if you can see my angle right now, I can get from the top of his head to roughly just below his chest. So the most zoomed in I'm going to be for this shot is focusing on the bass and Chris's face. So we're going to get a little bit of the fretboard, movement of him sliding his hand and fingers, plucking the strings. So that's what we're going to get for this shot. All right, that was a good take. So right now we're gonna do another one where I am focused solely on the strings, because he is playing a lot of intricate parts during the song. So I wanna focus on his fingers plucking the instrument. And especially when he was coming out of the bridge, I think he had a slide on his bass. I really wanna highlight that and get a close-up of that. So for that,
the slide doesn't actually happen.
Oh, it's just part of my live thing that I do.
It
Alright. Good though. It looks cool.
Don't actually do that.
Okay, I won't.
I liked it though, but
Okay. I do it only.
so scratch everything I just said, but normally, to just finish my thought, what I would do with that, if a song did have that, is I would focus on this, and if he's plucking away, it's like, brrr, I would have his left hand come out of focus while his right hand plucking the string is in focus. So that's just how I would do that shot. But if it's not in the song, don't do it, even though it looks cool.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do another one where I'm focused solely on the bass guitar and then a couple of his facial expressions doing his thing. So we're gonna do another take. So I'm gonna have you stand, I wanna get this in the shot. Awkward thing about doing a song that starts out on guitar is it starts with guitar. So right now we're having Chris reach over and play, and then I'm shooting around Chris, so he's not gonna be in the shot, as you can see. So I got Zach right here, and Chris is not in the shot at all. So as long as Chris hits that and gets his arm out of the way, we should be good to go. So
yeah, Chris, note to self, get your arm out of the way.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
guitar player, Jesus, I want the guitar neck to be facing that way. So you're gonna be basically facing this Randall. And now I wanna get the guitar with the outboard gear in the background.
Yeah.
Because that looks dope as fuck. The angle that I got for the whole video.
Awesome. That guitar is
awesome.
shining.
Oh, let's think of the
Yeah, there's your new banner picture.